I'm going to assume the majority of you guys watching this video need to upskill your post-close process. And the reason why I thought I would film this YouTube video is because I have an elite post-close power play that I'm going to show you exactly how you can implement this into your agency. So even if a client says yes and no, okay? So even by just implementing these steps in this video, you are going to be so much more effective when it comes to your agency process. And before we jump into the video, let me give you an introduction into myself. My name's Dan. I've been in the agency space for over 10 years now. I've scaled multiple successful agencies of my own. And I also run a coaching and consulting business called Client Capital, where I've helped mentor and scale over 150 agency owners. If you do want to check that out, there is a link in the description. Give it a click. So let's jump straight into it. Now, we're going to look at if they said yes and you've closed the deal. First of all, congratulations. Well done. Now, regardless of whether you've collected payment on the call or not, because it might be the fact that you're doing invoices for a bigger company, then you can still follow this exact process. So straight after the call, straight after, within 15 minutes, okay, we're going to send a confirmation email. We're just going to recap the agreement. We're going to recap the next steps that we've discussed on the closing call, and we're going to have an onboarding timeline. Now, one thing that I'm going to say, we are going to automate some of this process, but we are not going to automate everything, okay? So we can automate the onboarding timeline, okay? This can be pretty standardized across your whole business unless you've decided to add more services into, that sales agreement because of the nature of the client, right? Same with the next steps. You can automate this nice and easy. Recapping the agreement, again, if it's very standardized, you can do this. However, we want to be able to include some element of personalization. So a welcome note, okay? What I want you guys to do, and this is really, really important for customer success, retention, and future upsells, is to make sure that you have a good welcome note. Explain a little bit more about what you guys discussed, welcome, and what you're going to be doing, okay? Make sure that you personalize this. Remember, we've got AI nowadays, right? You can use Grok, ChatGPT, whatever you want to use to make sure that this is super personalized so that they feel welcomed into working with you. Now, remember this. If they've just paid your agency 5K or 2K or 1K, right? They've parted with cash. So the first 24 hours is the most valuable part of their journey. Now, I stole that from Alex Hormozy. I'm not here to, discredit Alex Hormozy's work, but it's so true. The first 24 hours is the most important customer journey that you need to make sure that you prioritize, okay? So we need to make sure that we are putting as much time, effort, and love into that first 24 hours. Now, we're going to include the payment confirmation. So if you've collected the payment, you're going to include the payment confirmation. If you haven't, then include the invoice, okay? You're going to include the onboarding call link as well in the next email, okay? It might just be an invitation. What to prepare? Now, the reason why I say this is a lot of you guys, and I see this with a lot of inexperienced agency owners, you jump on onboarding calls and you're trying to do all of this, kind of discovery again, right? Trying to understand a lot more about their business when you've already done that in the sales call. And realistically, what this is doing is slowing it down for your client. So if we can give them a checklist as to what they can, prepare ahead of that call, it's going to make your job so much easier. For example, if you're running a social media marketing agency, you might request some ad creatives or some copy or their previous ads, okay? Or access to certain things. So again, make sure that you list this out to them because not everyone is going to be as adapted to marketing as you are. So you want to make this process nice and fucking easy. They're paying you for you to take control. So make sure that you do, okay? Now, point of contact going forward. If you've got a big team, then obviously make sure that you assign a point of contact. But the majority of you guys watching my video are normally between 2K and 20K a month or even brand new starting, okay? So make sure that you give a point of contact if you've got a small team. If you don't, then just obviously say that you're going to be the main point of contact. And then send a contract if needed. So if you've agreed to send a contract, do it via DocuSign or PandaDocs. Not sponsored, by the way. Just absolutely love PandaDoc and DocuSign. I think DocuSign's really good for the tracking element. Really nice and easy to set up. In fact, DocuSign even has a free trial. So for those of you guys that are a little bit broke at the moment, check them out because you can use a free trial and send out your first contract, right? Sign your first client, get some money, and then use DocuSign. But PandaDoc's good as well because you can collect payment too, right? You can integrate it with your payment provider like Stripe, and as soon as they sign the contract, you get paid. So keep it simple and already filled, right? Don't make the contract process really difficult, okay? Don't allow them to add paragraphs and paragraphs. don't have a 9-page contract. You don't need it. And remember, respectfully, none of you guys watching this video are likely to be able to take a company to court because you don't have the revenue behind you to do it, right? And it's stupidly expensive, and for what reason? So for a 2K retainer, you're never going to take someone to court, right? There's just no point. Cool. Now, within 24 hours, we are going to send all of the onboarding materials, okay? So a kickoff questionnaire or an intake form, okay? Nice and easy. We're also going to give them access to Slack, Notion, GHL. If you want to know how I build out my Slack for my clients, feel free to just drop a comment. Slack keeps the engagement going as well. And I will just show you exactly how I map out Slack for my clients, right? Notion, again, give them access to Notion. This is going to be really good for you guys. If you don't use Notion already, please do. It's really good for organization and it's going to help you. And then Go High Level, I'm assuming that most of you guys are using Go High Level, but you might be using some other CRM. That's fine. Just give them access to that. Timeline of deliverables, right? So this is really important because deliverables that are discussed on the initial sales call need to match what you're sending within the first 24 hours unless they have given you false information, okay? So make sure that you don't say something like on a sales call, I will get you live in 7 days to get that deal over the line, and then you tell them that you're going to get them live in the next 21 days, right? So you need to make sure that you map out the first 7 to 14 days because, again, we want to give them this confidence and reassurance that they've made the right decision by working with your agency. And then, like I said, introduce your team if relevant. Now, day 2 to 5, okay? Walk them through the system, answer any questions, solidify expectations, reaffirm confidence. This is, again, super important. Solidifying expectations is going to save you a lot of stress, right? So make sure that you are aligned in terms of your expectations and your deliverables for this client so that you don't get to the position where they're chasing you every single day for answers, results, etc. Now, luckily for you guys, I actually did a 21-minute video for the exact onboarding process that I use for my agency. And I'll put it at the end of this video. So I really recommend you checking that out because this video goes really well with that video, right? This is going to give you your SOP and your process. And that video is going to tell you exactly what I do for my agency, okay? So make sure you do check that out. I can't stress that enough. Now, if they didn't close, okay, we want to, within 15 minutes, send a personalized recap email, okay? Now, I like to use this subject line, recap from our call plus a quick note, trying to get that open rate up a little bit more, okay? Now, we're going to bullet key points, the problems that they shared in the call. So if you're doing your actual sales call properly, you should have identified a bunch of pain points, a bunch of problems within their business, and we should just bullet point that shit, right? Put it in front of them again. Make them understand that they need to change something in their business if they want to achieve their goals, okay? Then, under that, reiterate your solution. Remember, it needs to be a literal match of their problems, okay? Don't get their problems and then pitch a solution. Let's say their problem's leads and then you say, oh yeah, what I can do is host your website, right? Like, remember, we've got to be smart here. Now, include any case studies or testimonials that match their niche. So if you are an experienced agency owner, make sure that you are including that because, again, that's just going to help build trust. And you want to set a clear next step, okay? Let's touch base in 2 days. How does Thursday look? And the reason why I'm saying this is normally on a sales call, you should be doing this, right? You should hard CTA right at the end. If you can't close, you should always walk away with something, at least a follow-up, right? But if they were unable to agree to that, then that means there's clearly some sort of value issue, right? So again, we're going to reiterate the problem and the solution, and then we're going to re-hard CTA on email, okay? Now, if at this point you still don't get a reply, okay? Here is a little cadence that I've put together that you guys can use, right? So let's look at the follow-up sequence and then we'll look at the cadence, okay? So the sequence is going to be a mix of Loom videos, case studies, value emails, and even a last chance message, right? A little bit of urgency there. So the Loom video is just going to be a personalized video reminding them of their goals, how you're going to be able to hit them, and really just put in, again, another touch point in the process, right? A bit of a face to the name again. They might send it round to another decision maker. This is just going to help you do that. And then what you're going to do as well is you are going to do case study testimonial drop, right? So you're going to do a really relevant success story, okay? If you've got that, don't just put, we worked with this client. Make it like storytelling, okay? It's really, what can I say? It's more beneficial, right? It's so much more beneficial for someone to understand someone's journey and their story than just saying, we helped achieve XYZ, do XYZ, right? When we started working with this person, we were able to do this. They had this problem. This is the solution. Now we've done XYZ, and then it's helped them go to XYZ, right? I know it was a bit complex, but it's true. Make it storytelling. Then we're going to do a value email, right? Again, we want to make sure that the value email is like really kind of reinstating the problem again. Okay, so for example, 3 tips to convert more leads into paying customers. Now, the problem that they might have had is that they were getting so many leads, but they're not converting into paying customers. So that value email goes straight out to them. Okay, and let them think that they can do it themselves, and then they're going to be like, oh, actually, you know what, these guys can do it so much better, right? So give them enough value, but not the whole process. Then a last chance message, like I said, so add in light urgency or even scarcity, right? Be careful with this one. Limited spots might make you sound a bit like, I don't know, desperate, but there are ways of doing it, okay? You can say we only take on 2 clients per month in this specific area, and our price is actually going to be increasing, right? Just put that in a message. Now, I'll give you an example cadence. So, first of all, day 1, right? We're going to do a call recap email, okay? Then, day 2, we're going to send a Loom video in the morning, and then we're going to call them in the evening, booking in that next call. If we can't get hold of them, we're then going to do a case study. We're then going to do a value drop and a CTA, and then we're going to give a soft deadline message, okay? Spots closing this week. Now, we're then going to do a bit of long-term nurturing if still not closed. Put them in an email sequence, give them value again, right? However, what I'm trying to say here is this isn't going to work for every single client you don't close, right? The whole point of this is to go, okay, if I close 3 out of 10 clients and there's 7 clients that I'm struggling to close out of 10 clients every time, I can almost guarantee if you build a cadence like this or use this exact one that I've showed you, you will close an additional 1 client out of those 10, right? Because you actually have an SOP and a follow-up process in place. And you can improve on this. It depends on your niche and your agency. You can improve on this all you want. But like I say, use this because it's worked very well for me. And make sure you check out the exact onboarding process that I use for my agency. If you did enjoy this video, then just leave a like and subscribe as well, man, because I would really appreciate the support. I'm growing my YouTube channel at the moment. I want to be able to provide as much value for young entrepreneurs as possible. So enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.